Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with my review for the 100, Season 6, Episode 9. Alright, so we're back from our 2-week break since last episode, right, and I've seen a lot of people kind of frustrated with these 2-week breaks. Now they've taken 2 in the past 3 episodes now, and I have to agree, it was a little bit frustrating, but coming back to this episode, I thought, to be honest, it was a little lackluster. I think the stuff that they showed us was good. It's just that they didn't show us that much. So we kind of have 3 main plots in this one, with Octavia and her kind of redemption arc starting in this one. We see a little bit of Josephine and Bellamy and Clark in their kind of thing, and then we see the whole thing with Kane and Abby, which to me was the biggest part of the episode, or kind of the thing that, the most significant part, I guess, which I'll probably be talking about the most. But anyways, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this episode. We only have, 4 more episodes to go after this one, so they got a lot of work to do in the last 4 episodes to bring things all together here, and I'm really looking forward to it and to see how it ends. Let me know what some of your predictions are as well, for going forward, and what all this kind of in this episode for sure, but also in the other episodes previous, of what all this stuff can mean going forward, with all this Prime stuff as well. I've seen some really great theories and predictions out there that have proved to be right already, and some of you guys have even let me know on some of those. But anyways, love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you enjoyed the review, please like and consider subscribing to the channel. Would really appreciate that as well. But without any further ado, let's get into a little bit of a recap here again. I don't think this episode showed us too much, on the surface, but I do want to talk a little bit more deeply about some things in this episode. So we'll get to a little bit of a recap, my rating, favorite character, and some more overall thoughts and predictions and theories. So we start this one off as Octavia comes to. We're back at the Verge, right, in Gabriel's tent, or Xavier. I'm gonna just call him Gabriel for now, or I guess going forward, because now we know that he's Gabriel. I think that was as of last episode, right? So anyways, I'm just going to call him Gabriel now. But anyways, so Octavia comes to, and she says she doesn't remember how she was healed or what happened in the anomaly. But Gabriel kind of has this theory that it was only a few seconds, right, in real time that she was in there. But he thinks that she was actually in there for a long time, or at least a longer time than just a few seconds. And that's how the whole healing process worked, which is very interesting. This is some really kind of, deep, nuanced sci-fi stuff. It kind of reminded me of Interstellar, right, where they go to, a certain atmosphere of the planet, and all of a sudden it's 7 years for every, I think, I can't remember that movie, what it is. I think it's like every hour is 7 years or something of real time. Anyways, so there could be something like that going on, where she went into the anomaly and it was really like 2 years of her life that she spent in there, while it just seemed like seconds here. But anyways, we haven't gone quite deeper into that yet, but that's what Gabriel is kind of theorizing at this point. Anyways, he urges her to remember, as nobody has ever come out of it before, right? So he's just trying to get some type of insight as to what actually happens when people go into this anomaly. And so he basically injects her with this red sun serum that was in the air in the forest, right? So it's this serum that basically makes you hallucinate and makes you have all these visions and stuff like that we've seen before, right? And so anyways, and this is of course what happened with Diosa and her going in. By the way, we have like pretty much nothing about her in this episode at all, like not even a mention. And I thought that was a little strange. Like, I thought Octavia would be like, well, like, what happened to Diosa? But no, like, that doesn't even cross her mind in this episode, especially after the last one, where we saw them developing that relationship, the 2 snakes in one garden and all that stuff, and there was just no mention of her. But anyways, hopefully she comes back by the time this season ends. So, hopefully that this serum then will bring her back to that anomaly headspace, if you will, and make her remember. However, it quickly traps her in the fighting pit of the bunker with herself, Blood Reina, watching over her. So, this is a really cool sequence here where basically Gabriel tells her to look for the signs of the anomaly, and then right away she sees this green and red box, and so of course she opens the red box, right? All these butterflies kind of fly around her, and all of a sudden she's transported to that fighting pit, that location, I guess, of that of being in that bunker. And then she sees herself, Blood Reina, kind of looking down on her, as Blood Reina did for all the fighters back in that season 5 storyline. So anyways, later then we come back to the pit to see Pike return for a pep talk with Octavia, and gets her to admit what she wants, and that is, first she says forgiveness, but he tells her to dig deeper, and she uncovers basically that she wants redemption, right? And I really like that they just come out and say this, right? Like, the whole season has really kind of been a redemption arc for Octavia, or at least the last few episodes, and now it's just kind of blatant, right? Like, she wants redemption. That's what she wants at this point, and a little bit more on the surface maybe is forgiveness, right? She wants to be forgiven by Bellamy and some of the others who hate her, right? And we see in this scene too that she may even hate herself for the things she has done. So really great stuff here, I thought, with Pike's death and Lincoln's death, and how those affected Octavia, kind of set her on this course, in my opinion, which is something actually I haven't really thought about. But if we go back, and I haven't done a rewatch of the 100, I'm really kind of mad at myself. I might be doing that this summer to kind of get back into this after season 6 ends. But anyways, if we go back and see season 3, I think Lincoln's death is what really set Octavia on this course that she's been on pretty much ever since. And so I thought this was actually really interesting, the way they did this, with Pike coming back and showing him killing Lincoln, and then her killing him later in season 3, I believe, or was it season 4? Either way, when she kills Lincoln, that was really a big turning point for her as a character, and I forgot all about that, so I thought that was really, really great. And then we see Blood Reina come in the pit to kill Pike, and then we see this kind of overlay of Lincoln's death, where Pike is pretty much saying the exact same things as Lincoln. We know, of course, Octavia watched Lincoln's death from the cliff. Probably one of the most, shocking, saddest moments of the entire series, for sure. I mean, it's just an amazing way that was done. Of course, behind the scenes, the actor who was playing Lincoln wanted out of the show and all that stuff, so it was kind of a little bit messy. But the way it was done, I thought, was really, really incredible and really impactful. Anyways, and so we see this overlay of Lincoln dying along with Pike. And so, in this case, she actually ends up stopping Blood Reina from killing Pike, and ends up killing Blood Reina instead. So she basically kills that part of herself that she wants to be redeemed for. She wants to be forgiven. So it kind of shows this whole thing of, she's trying to redeem herself, and maybe she even has, in her mind at least, by kind of correcting her decision to kill Pike back in season 3, and ending up, stopping, kind of saving Pike in this case, and actually killing that part of her. So I thought this was a really, really well done scene. I thought it was a little bit maybe on the nose with some of the things Pike was saying here. Really great to see the actor for Pike come back. And I saw in some of the, was it the teaser? Or maybe it's, some of the teaser images or something. I saw Pike was in this, and I'm like, oh, it'll just be some flashback. But it looks like the actor actually came in and did this scene with Maria Avgeropoulos, so I thought that was really great. Anyways, really great start to the episode with that one. Alright, so then we're into the forest, and Bellamy and Josephine are quickly captured by the children of Gabriel and taken to this cave where they are chained up, and the children of Gabriel tell them if Gabriel doesn't respond to their radio call, telling them about the new information about the hosts, which Bellamy offers them, right, that they will be left there to die, right? And we see these kind of skeletons of these other people there, right? and so the Gabriel people kind of tell them, look over at this, these skeletons on the ground. This is going to be you, right? We're leaving you here to die if Gabriel doesn't respond. And so I thought this was, again, a little bit lackluster, a little bit disappointing maybe, because I was really looking forward to this. Like, I thought we'd have a whole episode of Josephine and Bellamy and this kind of going back and forth, and Bellamy trying to speak to Clark as Josephine was still, had control of her body and all that stuff, which we get a little bit of, but I don't know. I just thought we could get more of it. It was about 30 seconds into their whole segment of this episode, and they're just captured like that by the Gabriel people. Which is also interesting, too, because I thought that, you know, when Xavier was with that group of the Gabriel people, I thought they were, like, the only ones. I didn't know that there was still a lot more of them, but apparently. Anyways, so Bellamy points out then, after they make this call on the radio, that the radios don't work on Sanctum. Like, you know, and we found that out very early on in that Red Sun Rising episode, I believe, right? And so we found that out that these radios don't work. But Josephine says they do actually work in one place, and that is basically that verge spot, or at least that's what Gabriel called it, right before that anomaly, or at least the force for the anomaly, right? And that's exactly where Gabriel is right now, right? And so that is where all the radio signals basically go to die, is that one little place right near that anomaly. And so that is how he could be contacted, right? And so it actually is a kind of an interesting thing here, and of course Josephine knows this. So Josephine also points out that if they're actually calling for him, they know he's alive, which is bad news for her, but of course good news for us and, you know, and Bellamy and everybody, right? That Gabriel is out there, he is their last chance, essentially, right? Like, he is their last chance at, you know, at trying to save Clark at this point, because they only have mere hours. So I thought it was really you know, good observation there made by Josephine, and the fact that, and we see her kind of face here too, like kind of a little bit scared that Gabriel actually is alive, because she didn't think it was possible. Anyways, Bellamy then tells Josephine, which in turn, you know, Clark can hear within her body, but essentially him telling Clark, he says, "I won't let you die." Thought that was a pretty powerful line there as well. All right, so then we go back to the mothership. So I thought this one, again, was probably the best part of the episode, and this was a really great start to it. So Kane quickly realizes the cost of him living in another body, and that cost is a man had to die for it. And I feel like the way this all played out was just really predictable. Like, of course, this is how Kane would react, and again, it just adds more kind of fire to the flame here, or sorry, more fuel to the flame, that, you know, why would Abby make that decision? Like, you know what I mean? And her knowing Kane so well, wouldn't she know that Kane would react like this? So, to me, I thought, again, it was, the whole way this played out was actually well done. I thought it was probably the right thing to do, but again, it kind of hurts that whole kind of writing of Abby making that decision. And I'm really disappointed with her character arc this season, and as I'm sure a lot of people are as well. Anyway, so we see him just seem really uncomfortable in this new body, and then we see the scene with the former, or the ex-wife, I guess, of the guy who he's in his body now, right? So that's a really powerful scene as well, and Kane picks up on that right away, right? And he just knows that it's wrong. And so I thought this was, again, really predictable, but I liked the way it played out, and Kane kind of slowly, well, maybe even quickly realizing, let's be real, right, that this was not a good idea, right? And we see that he's not even very thankful for Abby for doing it either. Like, he really never thanks her. He kind of just looks at her like she's a little crazy, because I think that's fair. Like, why would she do something like this, right? Anyways, so we see Raven telling Abby, of course, for the last, like, at least last episode, but before that even, that it's not worth it, right? Like, maybe it wasn't worth it to bring Kane back into this new body. And as a result, we see Kane and Raven go wake up Indra from cryo. And it's like, where the hell is she been this season? Like, what? So, I don't know. I thought this was interesting. And again, the trailer for this season, we saw this clip where Indra was waking up from cryo. So we knew it was going to happen. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, like, episode 4, 5... Episode 9 is the first time we see Indra, and I like the part that she played in this episode, but it's like, really? Like, I don't know. I think some of the casual viewers may even have forgotten who the hell she even is at this point. But anyways, so they go wake up Indra from cryo as they need her help. So Raven and Kane agree that these people need to be stopped, and that they can float the Nightblood serum made by Abby so that they won't have access to it and can't make more hosts, right? Can't do what Abby did for Cain and essentially murdering the guy that died for, Cain to take his body, right? And so I thought this was very interesting that Cain just, again, really quickly figures this out, that it's the right thing to do to float this serum and, as we see later on, to float himself even. Anyways, so this means that without the serum, they can't murder more people, and that is exactly the way that Cain, Raven, and Indra, even after they kind of convince her a little bit, which I thought, like, what was that scene? Like, why would Indra be okay with it? Why would she need convincing that this is wrong? I don't know. I thought that was a little out of place. But anyways, back to this. So the only way then that these primes can make more serum is by going down to the ground, which means getting through Indra. And so that is the reason why they actually wake her up and then wake a little bit of her army up as well, so they can stop the primes from going down to the ground and getting the serum and just doing the same thing, murdering more people, getting more hosts. So anyways, I thought it's really cool. They devised this plan, and then we see it play out a little later on. So, back in the cave, the children of Gabriel come back for them, and when they try to gag Josephine, she fights back at first, gets hit in the face, causing her to bleed, which in turn exposes the Nightblood. And then the Gabriel people they go crazy. Like, they just go insane here, right? They recognize it right away, and then the one man, basically bends over her neck and to see if the chip has been inserted, and of course it has. And so once he sees the neck, it's like in a matter of seconds they line her up on this rock to behead her. Basically that's the main practice of these people, right? Like, they see a prime, they see this chipped person, boom, like they behead them, which is like, it's pretty extreme. But I don't know, like, maybe, as we've seen, maybe the Children of Gabriel aren't that bad, but I think the beheading may be a little far, or at least kind of the escalated process here too, and how quick they get her on this rock and are ready to behead her. But anyways, so right before they do, Josephine, we see, actually gives Clark control of her body. And it's a very quick instance, but I thought it was good from Alyssa Taylor's performance. And we actually do see a little bit of a change. And I watched it back for a second time, and we actually do see in her face that it kind of expression changes a little bit. And I thought this was interesting. Clark tries to kind of explain this to Bellamy a little bit later, because she says, well, Josephine is about to die if she didn't, give me control of her body back. And so that's why she did it. Which, I don't know. I don't know how I felt about this one. I thought this one was a little interesting after all the stuff we saw in episode 7 and how, basically stubborn Josephine has been with this. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, she would have lost the mind chip. She would have, basically, she would have been killed, right? They break the mind chip. She's gone forever. And so maybe she would, relinquish control for, to survive. But I thought it was maybe a little bit, I don't know. I just felt a little bit messy the way it played out. But anyways, so basically Clark, now back into the control of her body, she fights back against the Gabriel people, takes the blade from the one guy, ends up killing a couple of them, I think, and escaping. But before she goes, she gives Bellamy the keys to his cuffs, which we don't see him again in the episode, but I feel like now he's free in the forest, so I'm not sure exactly what he's going to do or where he's going to go, but at least he's free now. So then we see the Gabriel people, or we kind of see them track her down, right? But just before that, we also see the man kind of call out to the people that she's Josephine Prime, right? And that's obviously a huge target for them, right? Because she is a pretty, high up prime in the kind of, hierarchy of that kind of organization of the primes, and that whole thing that they hate, right? That whole establishment kind of thing that they hate of Sanctum. So anyways, this makes her all the more of a target for the Gabriel people. So of course they just all go after her. I mean, this was a crazy, hunting down, process that plays out here. So anyways, so we see the Gabriel people track her down in the forest, and everyone's running at her. But before she's caught, she's kind of hiding behind this tree for a second. And she then sees Jade and her party show up on bikes and shoot some of the Gabriel people down. I believe some of them just kind of ran off once they saw the guns. Of course, they don't have guns, and so that is a big disparity, right, between them. And they, of course, can't stay and fight against those guns, and so they kind of just run off. But I think Jade kills a few of them there anyway. So this kind of frees Clark, and very, very quickly, she pretty much outsmarts all of them, right? So she fakes being Josephine to get to them, and then knocks Jade out with the rock and takes her bike. But before she can kind of ride off, she can now see Josephine as a separate person in real life, right, in reality, who begs her for control back of her body. Clark says no way, right, and rides off to Gabriel after radioing that she is on her way. And then we also pick up that she learned to ride the bike from Josephine. So I thought this was interesting. And now, like, why? My question is, why can't Josephine just take back the body again? Why can't she just take back control again? Because isn't she the dominant, the dominant presence within the brain at this point? I don't know. I thought this stuff with Clark and Josephine, like Josephine giving her control, Clark not giving that control back, thought that was a little bit murky. But overall, I liked it. I liked the way that Clark is like, no way I'm giving your you control back of my body. Anyway, so it was great to see Clark back for what ends up probably being about 3 minutes of the episode, but still, it was really awesome. And to see her kind of outsmart Jade there, knock her out, thought that was really great as well. So we see Octavia then gets ready to leave the camp at the Verge. She tells Gabriel that she doesn't remember what happened in the anomaly, but that it did give her a second chance, and that she has to take advantage of that now. Of course, this is after the whole Pike thing played out, right? She recognizes that this is her second chance, and she does have to redeem herself now, and, she wants that forgiveness. And so she's kind of now on this redemption arc, on this redemption mission, but before she can ride off, they actually hear Clark's radio transmission. Octavia tells Gabriel that she knows her, she knows who Clark is, right? That's one of her friends, and Gabriel says, you may as well stay if Clark's coming to them, right? Like, if Clark's coming to us, you may as well stay here. Like, what are you doing riding off, right? And so Octavia, I guess, reluctantly agrees, and Gabriel says, things are about to get weird. I really love that line. Very, very true, right? Next episode, things are about to get very weird with Clark coming back. Because, of course, Gabriel picks up that Josephine is in her body, too. And he's like, okay, like, that is weird. So anyways, that was a really great little scene there. And that's where we leave there. All right, so to end, we're back on the mothership at the ending of this episode, and also the arc for Kane. So Raven, Indra, and Kane execute their plan. They steal the serum away from Simone and the Primes with the help of Indra and her kind of mini army assembled. I thought that was kind of cool. There's like 3 or 4 of them that they also woke up, as part of their army, right, to basically just overpower the Prime people with their guns, which they could overpower them anyways, but either way. So Abby then quickly finds out Kane is the one taking the serum, and so the way this all played out, just kind of heartbreaking to see Abby react and find out what was actually going on. And we see Raven feels bad for her even at this point, and she lets her at least say goodbye, right? At least say goodbye to Kane while he stands in the airlock. And this one was a really great scene, really emotional. You've been watching since season 1, as I have. I think season 2 I started. Kane has been an integral part of the show, a main character. This season is the only one where he hasn't been in like almost every episode, right? So this was a really well done scene, emotional, really impactful. So we see Kane's new body standing in the airlock, right, and then Abby being able to kind of say her piece through the speaker, right, that he could hear, and then she can hear him. So I really like, though, that they did this. So we suddenly then, as Abby is speaking to him, we see Henry Ian Cusick, right, take the form of Marcus again. And I thought this was really, really impactful. If they didn't do this, I would have just been kind of left again, kind of wanting more, right? Something they're left to desire. because I feel like if you're going to send Kane off like this, you got to show us, Henry and Kuzak has got to come back for it, right? And I thought this was really, really great. And I think this also represented really well the way that these people feel inside these new bodies, right? Like, Kane feels like himself. Like, he feels like Henry and Kuzak, in this body, yet he's in a different body, right? Like, his hands and all that stuff looks different, but that's how he feels. So I thought it was just a really great way of doing this goodbye, or this kind of farewell, if you will, for Marcus, and bringing back Henry and Kuzak to play this in this scene. Although I don't think, like, Abby of course sees this new body. I don't think she sees the Henry and Kuzak version of Kane, of course, right? Anyways, I thought it was really cool. Anyways, so he tells Abby that he gets why she did it, and that he probably would have done the same for her, but he knows that she couldn't live with it in the end, and neither could he. I thought some really powerful dialogue here for sure. He says he loves her, but if he doesn't do this, if he doesn't sacrifice himself while, floating the serum, they will both live to regret it, and so many more innocent lives will be lost. Of course, he's right as always, right? I mean, Kane's always been kind of that moral compass, that kind of, common sense kind of guy. Like, when everyone's kind of going crazy, he's the one that calms everybody down and talks some sense into people, and he's right again. He's right again. I mean, innocent lives would be lost if he didn't do it, if he kind of let the Primes take this serum and make more hosts, and I don't think Abby could have lived with it, and he definitely couldn't live in this new body either. So I thought this was really great. And then he says, "This is how we get our humanity back." I thought that was a really, really great line to say to Abby in this scene after she's been the one kind of preaching that this season. And it's so true, right? Like, this does get their humanity back. It really does. Even by sacrificing himself, they really do get their humanity back as a result. And he's willing to do that for the betterment of the group and for Abby. Just really powerful stuff. So we see Raven and Indra, kind of an overlay of them saying, "May we meet again." Abby weeping, right? She doesn't even say that, but she's just weeping at this point because she knows what's about to happen. Kane says, "May we meet again." Indra then says, "Your fight is over," right? All these kind of iconic lines that have formed in the series. And we see Indra release the airlock then as Kane floats out into space with the serum in hand. This was crazy, man. This was crazy. So I thought this was such a perfect send-off all around for this character and for the actor Henry and Kuzak. Again, I don't love it. I don't love that they are kind of killing off this character. But, I mean, let's be honest. They pretty much killed him off last season, right? Like, at the end of Season 5, they pretty much killed him off back then. Whether or not they really could have done something here and really stretched it to keep him alive, probably. But they really did kill him off last season, and I think it's just been kind of dragged out, this whole storyline with Abby. And that's the only reason that he's still even alive in the show. Because we saw Henry and Kuzak take that role in Passage. Now he's taking the role in MacGyver. And so I think he knew, at least, and maybe even Jason Rothenberg told him maybe, even last season, well, you're pretty much gone, right? Like, he's only been in, I think, 2 episodes this entire season now, or 3. And so I definitely recognize that. I think this was the perfect ending, although I would have been fine if Kane stuck around for 4 more seasons if the show would have gone that far. Love the character. I think Henry and Kuzak was probably the best actor on this cast. And so to lose your best actor, there's definitely something to be said about that. But I thought this was such a great scene and such a perfect send-off for this character. And really, I mean, him being floated, right? Like, he was the one who was responsible for floating all these people back on the Ark. And it's just so fitting that he ends up floating himself, basically, at the end of it, and even sacrifices himself to get the humanity back, for them to get their humanity back, and especially Abby. So, anyways, that's where the episode ends. I thought it was a perfect send-off for Kane, although I don't really agree with the whole thing of killing him off in the first place. Alright, so in terms of rating for this episode, I'm going to give this one a 4.2 out of 5, and that's a pretty low score so far for the season. I thought this one was just really slower paced, and to be honest, it didn't show us all that much. I mean, you know, there was 3 main storylines with this Octavia redemption stuff. Bellamy and Josephine in there, Clark getting control back, and then we saw that whole Kane and Abby thing. And, you know, we didn't see the main group back on Sanctum that are locked up, presumably in kind of a prison or a cage or something like that. We haven't seen Maddie, who I guess is in that cage as well. I'm trying to think of all the other stuff that we just really didn't see in this episode. We didn't see anything about Dioza. Jordan, we still have no idea what happened to him. So, I don't know. I just thought that, I don't know. I felt like they could have showed us a little bit more, especially coming back from this 2-week break. But I will say it was a pretty good episode in what they did show us, yet I just thought it was a bit lackluster in that it was missing a few things, and it was just overall slower paced. I mean, there wasn't a lot of really big, shocking moments throughout, right? Even the Kane thing at the end, you could kind of see it, you know, like all playing out, and you could kind of predict what would eventually happen in the end of the episode. And so I thought that was, you know, definitely a little lackluster in that it wasn't as shocking or perhaps exciting. But I feel like it was really well done. A great arc with Octavia in this episode. I really liked the stuff they did with her, bringing back Pike, showing a little bit of that Lincoln stuff as well. Of course, that wasn't any new footage. That was from the season. But I thought it was still really great. And a great goodbye to Kane and Henry Ian Kuzik for sure. Again, I thought it was really a perfect send-off. And welcome back Indra to the show. She has been, like, gone. And I mean gone. Like, there's been no mention of her or anything this whole season, pretty much. And she just suddenly comes back in episode 9. And I thought she stole the show. I thought she was really great in this one. And again, she's kind of become irrelevant, though, at this point. Like, to be completely honest. But, you know, I liked it, though. I liked what her character did. And like I said, she stole the show in the fact that, you know, she's back and she helped the team, right? But, you know, in terms of the grand scheme of things, she really has no part to play, you know, in what has happened so far. But maybe we see her get her army back, you know, at full strength, and, you know, see her come and basically rescue the group from the Primes at Sanctum. They fight this big war. I don't know, but we'll have to see going forward. I feel like she is probably going to play a big part in the next coming episodes to end off the season. So, all right, favorite character. I'm doing this because it's his probably last episode ever. Not necessarily because he was my favorite character in this episode, but I gotta give it to Marcus Kane, played by Henry Ian Kuzik. Like I said, I think he's been the best actor on this cast. Trying to think. Maybe there has been someone better, but overall, I think Henry Ian Kuzik has been at least the most consistent guy on the cast, and it's going to be tough to lose him, although we've kind of already lost him this season. He's only been in, like I said, 3 episodes or something like that, but what an amazing send-off for this character. Marcus Kane has always been, again, a real kind of fixture in this show. He's always been an integral part of it, of every plot they go down. And I thought, out of all the adults, I thought he was definitely the best character, the best kind of written character. Again, probably the best performance given by any of the actors for the adults. And I don't know, I just really liked his character throughout the series, and it's going to be tough without him going forward. I did see an article, by the way, of Henry Ian Kuzik confirming himself that he is done with the show, though I don't doubt that he would come back for kind of a flashback or something like that in the future, maybe even in the finale episode or something like that. We might see, but I am a little bit disappointed in the way they played it out with Abby this season, in being Kane's last season and last episode, especially for this one. But we'll have to see how she recovers and how the rest of the group recovers, you know, going forward without Kane, without that voice of reason, and without that kind of moral compass there with them. So, anyways, guys, I'll just about do it for my review. Thank you so much for watching this one. Again, love to hear your thoughts on this episode and what you think might happen going forward in the rest of this season. Really looking forward to it, as I mentioned before. But anyways, guys, again, thank you so much for watching this one. Thanks so much for the support on these reviews and the channel. I can't thank you guys enough. Really do appreciate all the support. But we'll then see you next week for the 100 Season 6, Episode 10.